Welcome to Lead Where You Live, Tucson Voices in Leadership. I'm Jamie Leon-Guerrero.
And I'm Raysun Frost. This podcast is all about real people leading with heart in our community.
We believe leadership isn't about titles, it's about action. And Tucson is full of people making a difference in big and small ways.
Join us as we chat with inspiring voices who are showing up, stepping up, and shaping Tucson's future.
Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Lead Where You Live. I'm excited to be here. Raysun Frost.
Jamie Leon-Guerrero.
And today we have Jamie Ibrahim, GTO class of 2024, best class ever.
Hey.
Thank you for being here, Jamie.
Thank you for having me.
Jamie is a seasoned attorney with a diverse legal background. She's currently serving as Deputy Director of Southern Arizona Legal Aid. She previously worked at Jacksonville Area Legal Aid, where she provided crucial legal services to underserved communities, focusing on survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. Jamie also served as a family law magistrate, gaining invaluable experience in judicial decision-making. Throughout her career, she has earned numerous accolades, including the Making a Difference Award from the Family Law section of the Florida Bar, and was recognized as a leader in the law from the Florida Association of Women Lawyers. Most recently, she represented Southern Arizona Legal Aid in the 2023 Fast Pitch class and in the 2024 Greater Tucson Leadership Alumni. Passionate about public service, Jamie is dedicated to advancing access to justice and advocating for those in need. Welcome, Jamie. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much.
So let's get right into it, Jamie. And can you tell us where your name came from?
So last name Ibrahim is, of course, my family name. It's of Palestinian descent. My family is from Ramallah, Palestine. And the first name Jamie came from my mom met a friend in college and was Lebanese and had dark curly hair and thought, I bet my daughter would also have dark curly hair. As we can see, that is true. And she liked the name and I became Jamie.
Nice.
And I love your curls. I've always wished to have curly hair, so
I've embraced them over the years.
Tell us a little bit about where you live and what you love most about where you live.
So I live on the west side of Tucson. The best part about being in Tucson, of course, is just that my family is all here. And so we moved here about 3.5 years ago. My brother and sister-in-law were already here. And so where we are on the west side, we're all about within 5 miles is myself, my mother, and my brother. So I really like the closeness with them.
That's really wonderful.
I know, I'm a little jealous. I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah, you have to fly across seas, right, Jamie, to get to your family?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I have a great chosen family here. So I have that. But I love that you have your family so close to you.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. Tell us something that not many people or nobody knows about you.
I have a little bit of a wild adventure streak. I've got a video from when I jumped off the Stratosphere in Las Vegas.
Tell me more.
So this was before I moved here. And so my mother and I flew to Las Vegas. We met my brother up there to celebrate his birthday. And one of the fun things we did for his birthday was we strapped a GoPros to ourselves and we hopped our Stratosphere. It's like a controlled zipline descent. It was a lot of fun.
Even your mom?
She did not do it. She basically waited at the bottom and saw her children jump off a building like lemmings.
Oh my gosh.
Man,
Right? Poor mom, for sure. Tell us a little bit about how leadership shows up for you in all three aspects, your personal life, your professional life, and in the Tucson community life.
So I think personally, I'm probably the one that schedules stuff and hosts stuff and, we kind of the organizer of things. Also being the lawyer in the family means if somebody has a problem, they're always calling. Professionally, I would say leadership shows up in my relationships with my staff every morning, most mornings. As long as I'm not super busy, you will see me walking around the office sipping a cup of tea and just checking in with everybody and see how everybody's doing. And then professionally or in the community, that's really just through my work with Southern Arizona Legal Aid. We try to be out there. We try to do outreach and we try to do as many things as we can to let people know that we're there. And on the personal side in the community, I'm always looking for ways to volunteer, to donate my time, to donate my treasure for causes that I really believe in.
And I have to say that you aren't giving yourself enough credit for how you show up as a leader in your personal life. You are definitely someone who actively reaches out and says, "Hey, let's get together. It's been too long." And not only do you make the recommendation, but you offer to host, and you are an elaborate hostess. Like, you just have these amazing events with the most delicious food ever. And to me, that really shows as you being a leader for your classmates and for your friends. And so I think that's really important to note. We see that in you.
I appreciate that.
I know. I also see how you show up in the GTL realm of like issue day planning. You know, you are part of those days. And I see you really like making sure that those days are relevant and impactful, and especially like giving your personal knowledge and kind of expertise to like really make the days that you're on those planning committees like the best one ever. So that I'm really happy that you're in those rooms still, just kind of leading to help make the program and making the experiences. Like I think like everything that we're saying is like you're that connector. I love that you've been that connecting piece for so many of us, even whether we were in the class or not. That to me is leadership as well. So you're showing up.
Along with that connector piece, really, you lend your voice. And I imagine this is why you're so wonderful at the job that you do.
Mhm.
But you lead your voice to everyone else. Like, you're willing to use your voice to stand up and say, "Hey, this is what needs to happen. Hey, let's do this. Hey, don't forget this." And we need leaders like that who are willing to speak up for others. So
Yeah.
thank you.
The natural advocacy, I think, of being a litigator for almost 20 years.
Right? I think like you came into the GTL world, or at least into my GTL world, right? Like as this strong leader already. And I'm interested to know how or like what impact GTL kind of had on your like your leadership style, or like what was your biggest takeaway since that you've had since graduation? I mean, like we just talked about all the good things you're doing already, but like how did it impact you?
Say it impacted me twofold, one personally, one professionally. So personally, being new to town, I didn't know anybody, and that was really hard, especially for someone. I mean, I'm a self-admitted extrovert. I like people. I gain my strength from people and being around that energy, and so it has connected me with wonderful people, including the two of you, who I'm so happy I can call my friends. And then on a professional level, when we did some of the discussion of like the strengths and different styles and personality types, just reminds me of how different people are. And I think is a good reminder to me as a leader in that I need to always be looking at my staff and other people that I'm connecting with and maybe adjust my communication style and my responses to them based off of what their strengths are and not just always focus on myself.
I love that.
That's a really great takeaway. And
Yeah.
I think that is something that is hard to do because people sometimes think that leadership is all about kind of some of the things we've talked about, which is you got to stand up, you got to be an extrovert, but really, in a lot of ways, leadership is about being able to recognize who the person is in front of you, who the person you're partnering with, who the person is that you're wanting to support or to work alongside with, and to see how to best uplift them.
Yeah.
And so, I think that takeaway is a really awesome one, or that reminder that that's how we need to approach supporting and being a leader is
Yeah.
focusing on the other person a little bit more.
That's one of my favorite things to do at work is when somebody has done something well or they want to try something new and we can support them and I can give them accolades. That's the best part.
Yeah. I love that. Is that like servant leadership at its best, right? Like how are we serving others? I love that.
And so you've spoken a little bit about this already, but tell us a little bit more. I'd love to hear a little bit more about where you volunteer or where you give back to the Tucson community.
So I'm actually honestly looking for either like a board to serve on or something to do a little bit more. I've tried to do volunteer opportunities as I see them. And so I've done some, box prepare community food bank, homeless packs, feed my starving children, making those meals that are shipped out worldwide. And then of course I love, I support my office financially. Around the holidays, I always like to do adopt a family or adopt seniors. Seniors tend to be one of the most forgotten groups. I was part of a senior holiday project when I was in Florida. And so I did the same thing last year. And, my mother and I actually did the shopping together and the wrapping together. And we just had a blast, buying for these seniors that are a little bit less fortunate than us and hoping that they had a really nice holiday.
Can I join you this year if you do that again? I think we should make that a thing. Seriously, like adopt a senior.
Yeah, I love that too, because I think you're totally right. I think there's so many ways in which people think about, oh, we're going to support youth or kids or um, the pets, people who are dependent on others. And we forget about the fact that, especially here in Tucson, it's a retirement community, right? And we have a lot of seniors who end up, isolated and alone and maybe not as also, who are in same sort of thing, situations where, they may not have had the resources they expected to have when they had to retire or when they got older. And so, yes, I absolutely love that. And I appreciate the reminder that it's not always about the youth or the pets.
It's very humbling because of the things that they wanted were things like a bathrobe and a blanket. And so when you think about your life and how, blessed you might be individually, we bought the best blankets and bathrobes that we could find.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's wonderful. And I too would be
Thank you.
excited to
Thank you so
join.
much
So
for
we
that.
have yeah.
I'm just like, wow. Usually people will find a cause to go do the thing. Like you just kind of created, like you knew it. You knew there was a need, and you didn't need to get a lot of people involved, and you just impacted and made a difference on your own. And I love that. And I think Tucson, I think we're pretty good at that, right? I think our community is really good. Yeah. But I love that you kind of focused on the elderly. That's the piece that I think a lot of people forget. Like there's the need for all demographics and populations, but I think they're one of the forgotten ones. So you're pulling at my heartstrings right now. Thank you so much.
But
Thank you. Well, you're pulling on my heartstrings, and I don't know if you remember the part of the retreat where you guys did like your boundary breakers. So I've come to kind of wanted to recreate that. If you could become instantly enlightened on any one subject, which subject would you choose and why?
I don't know if it's really the best answer, but I would love to be enlightened on languages.
Mm,
Need to learn language very quickly because I think, or I guess I've seen so many times that language barrier, if you can get past that, can make such a huge difference in people's lives, even on just personal level, maybe at a grocery store, much less actually trying to serve and help people like in my line of work. But that would just open up so much of a world of possibilities of talking to more people and then being able to travel with ease and really probably connect with communities more if you speak the language versus if you did not.
communication, right? Is like
That's what life is. Life is all about communication.
is. I don't know how we go after that though, Jamie. Like that's the one we should all be enlightened on is how to communicate.
Well, that was my choice. What's yours?
No, I love it. I love that though. Do you know yours, Rayson?
I do. Although I did have that moment. Oh, yeah, I'm just going to pick what Jamie said because it was so good. Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, how many times have I wished that, right?
Yeah.
I have to had the privilege of traveling in a couple different countries and getting stuck in an airport train station because we didn't understand and we couldn't communicate. Like we weren't actually stuck. We just didn't know what we need to do and we didn't know how to communicate, right? It took us several hours to figure out. But there's so many moments when like language and communication would make a big difference. So I'm going to pick something else for my personal one, but you really like pick something that I'm like, yes, that is fantastic. Just
Mhm.
everyone in the world could be enlightened on one subject. I would totally agree with you. So when I first read this, I thought actually more of a if we're allowed to be enlightened, meaning becoming an expert and knowing how to do something, that I would love for it to be a handcrafting type of thing. I would love to instantly be enlightened on how to be an expert potter. It is really challenging. I've tried it before. I love pottery. My favorite mugs are pottery mugs. My favorite, like, I made little wine glass stems one time that I drink out. Like I would just everything would be pottery. I would make my clients personalized pottery gifts. I would like that would just be my thing. But I know it takes years and years of practice to become an expert. And but yeah, I love crafting, and that's the one thing that I've dabbled a little bit in it and realized how difficult it is. So that's mine.
This one's hard. Mine, I feel like in my head, Jamie, mine wants to it mirrors yours because it's like, it might not be the communication part, but it's more the understanding, kind of like the unseen things, whether that's like people with disabilities or people with autoimmune diseases that you might not know or mental illness, right? Like, and we could pick one, right? Underserved communities, right? Just all of those things, but like enlightened on like how it really is to like live that life. Because you don't, we all like
Yeah.
understand, but like you just really don't ever know unless you're in their shoes. And while we advocate and we want to help, I don't know. I think if I were enlightened on, for me, I would pick like the autoimmune disease because I have one that like no one knows about, right? And you sit there and why are you tired all the time? Or like, why do you hurt all the time? And like no one really knows because I think when you're struggling with those things, you just wear the face and you don't because it's invisible, right? So I think being enlightened on that.
It's like a bit of empathy or something for your fellow man.
Yeah. Like, but like, I don't, that's so hard though, right? Because like if you're in that all the time, like you would just be,
That could be tough.
could be. But I feel like if you had, I don't know, like maybe the word for me is like a superpower that if I were in front of someone, I'd have that superpower to kind of know what they were like, kind of feel what they're like, really truly empathize with them.
Well, and
And then,
I like where you're going with this thing. When I instantly thought, yeah, like Jamie, you always try and help other people and see their point of view, right? And so if you had that, so much of trying to help other people is figuring out exactly what the problems are, exactly what they're facing. And it can be hard to communicate that if you've never experienced it. I like to tell this story of one time when I was, and just as being a female, since we're all women in the room, my partner is an amazing man. I have wonderful male allies. But one time we were walking, my family was walking at night to a restaurant when we lived close to being able to walk to one. Um, my husband went in an alley and I immediately had like my keys in my finger, between my finger, and I was like just instantly on guard. And I was like, "Why are you going this way?" And he's like, "It's the shortest path." And I said, "Well, let's go this way." And later he came up to me and he said, "What was the deal with that? Like, why didn't you want to go down?" And I had to explain to him, like, I'm a female. I don't go down dark like instantly. I do not go down dark alleys unless I have no other choice. Never, and so he got explained it, but he's not necessarily ever going to be able to understand, be enlightened on what
Mhm.
that feels like, right? So when you said that, I was instantly like, yes, that would be an amazing superpower because that way we could understand all these people we want to help and support and work with, what they're going through at a level that would allow us to understand more the solutions, right?
Hope so I hope that made sense. That's just where my
Yeah.
brain went.
It does, because sometimes, the way someone is outwardly presenting is due to something else that's happening. And if if everyone had the ability to understand what was truly bothering them, I think there would be a lot less probably violence and misunderstanding and anger and all of that in the world.
I think if we were able to have those two enlightenments together, right? The communication piece and the truly like understanding.
Of world peace.
I know. I'm like, we need 7 to go. Together.
We have just solved the way to get world peace. We need 2 superpowers, only 2.
That one was deep, girl.
All right. Well, now that we know how to create world peace, we are going to move on to some personal this or that quick rapid fire questions for you to find out a little bit more about you. So don't worry, don't think too hard, and we're just going to get started. So the first one is pen or pencil?
Pen.
If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
Assuming it was safe, I'd like to go to Ramallah to see the place where my family came from and where my grandparents, were raised.
Mhm.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise on the beach.
On the
Let's go.
beach. There you go. Okay.
On the beach.
What is the silliest joke you know by heart?
I don't know that I can think.
You always have such a great sense of humor and you're always cracking jokes. And I was like, "God, she's going to be able to do this one."
Prepared.
We'll come back to that one. We'll circle back.
Oh, wait. Go. What do you call 1,000 lawyers under the sea? A good start.
See, that exemplifies your sense of humor. People that can laugh at themselves are so awesome to be around. I love that about you. Okay, where are we? Museum or amusement park?
Museum.
What song do you listen to when you need to be uplifted?
What song do I listen to? Gosh.
Spice Girls. Yes.
Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I think that was the first song I ever did karaoke when I was like 20. I don't know that I have one particular song when I'm like in a bad mood. I honestly don't know. It's probably more a movie than a song.
All right, well, what movie?
Singing in the Rain is one of my favorites that automatically puts me in such a good mood.
And it's a musical.
It is a musical, right? Maybe that's a song. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Fries or onion rings?
Onion rings.
What's a small thing that always makes your day better?
Fresh flowers.
Netflix or live music?
Live music.
Yeah, those are good.
To follow that up here in Tucson, so it's live music. What's the last concert? We do have a lot of music things that happen here in Tucson. What's the last live music thing you went to?
I went to Stomp. I don't know that counts as music. It's more percussion. Last music was probably a candlelit concert with a string quartet.
Mm-hmm. Those are so fun.
I love them.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for playing our kind of rapid fire questions. We're kind of coming to the end. We're going to finish up, but we want to give you a moment to, if you have any kind of special projects that you're working on or events that you'd like to promote or a message that you'd like to get out there, what would you like to share?
I would say so. An event coming up for my office, since that is where I'm a leader every day for Southern Arizona Legal Aid on October 23rd is going to be our annual luncheon where we thank our volunteer attorneys, and we're going to have a panel of some judges and the president of the Legal Services Corporation talking about access to justice. So we're really excited to hear from them. These are kind of the experts, that are moving the needle forward.
Is that open to the public?
It is, absolutely.
All right.
You don't have to be a lawyer. Anybody can come, but nobody really wants to hang out with lawyers.
So if they want to keep the pulse on what's happening in our community around these issues, that's the event to attend.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you, Jamie, so much for being on our Lead Where You Live series. And we look forward to seeing and hearing more about you in the community as an everyday leader.
Thank you so much.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Lead Where You Live. We hope you're feeling inspired by our guest's story and the impact they're making right here in Tucson.
If you love this conversation, help us spread the word. Share this episode, subscribe on YouTube, and tag a local leader who should be featured next.
Because leadership starts with showing up, and we know Tucson is full of incredible people doing just that.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Lead Where You Live.